Hi ladies, Ashley here from GlowBodyPT. I'm a prenatal and postnatal exercise specialist, a mom of 3, and military spouse. And thousands of women have successfully closed their diastasis recti on my 12-week post-pregnancy plan. I literally live and breathe healing postpartum bodies, so you have come to the right girl. It is so important that I answer your question because women are graduating my 12-week post-pregnancy plan and still asking, how do I know if I'm ready yet, Ash, to progress on to your 10-minute plan, to the next level, more intense ab workouts that are not diastasis recti friendly or not, or how do I know when I'm ready to step all the way up to 6-week lean, fast, strong cable plan, which is my most intense plan where we focus on performance and the physical gains follow. So we're gonna address that. The first measurement we're going to talk about is width. Clinically, if your diastasis recti is less than 2 fingers width wide, you no longer have diastasis recti, but there's more to it than width. It's width, it's depth, it's tension. So we're gonna talk about all 3. And if you are starting out and you have a gap of 4 or 5 finger widths, I'm not alarmed. I have seen this so many times, especially from my twin mamas, and they have successfully closed down their gap to a 2, maybe not always under 2 yet, but going from a 4 or 5 down to a 2 in 12 weeks is huge progress. And when that happens, I just recommend you repeat phases 2 and 3. Again, repeating the ab workout 3 times per week on non-consecutive days, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But getting down to less than 2, that is the goal clinically. Next factor you need to know about is the tension. This is how deep your ab gap is. Is it plunging all the way deep like sinking sand so you can pretty much feel your internal organs? Or is there some good tension there like you're bouncing on a trampoline? And ideally, we want your first knuckle only to go as deep as your first knuckle. If you don't know how to check yourself for diastasis recti, do my self-check for diastasis recti, do it the right way, because there's a lot of other checks out there on YouTube. I want you to make sure that we're doing this correctly. We want your depth to be 1 knuckle or less. And third one is function. In order to understand this, a short anatomy lesson is in order, but I'm gonna make it fun. Let's picture a warm chocolate melting cake. The frosting, the part you see, the part that looks so good, that is the rectus abdominis. That's what you see in the 6 packs of abs. And then under that layer, the cake, these are the internal and external obliques that kind of crisscross and X on our sides, and these create chiseled obliques. And then all the way in the middle, the gooey chocolate layer, this is the transverse abdominis layer of muscle. So the 3rd layer of core muscle that your core has in order to support the pressure that we have in our stomach. The transverse abdominis wrap all the way around you like a girdle. So we train all 3 in my 12-week post-pregnancy plan because if you only focus on one of them, you're not going to get results. Your abs just aren't going to respond. They're not going to change, and in fact, they could get worse if you're just training the rectus abdominis and you're just training the internal obliques, but you're neglecting the transverse abdominis. We're gonna have problems. So we make sure that we train all of those in order to have a functioning core. What I mean by functioning is the ability to control intra-abdominal pressure. When we do things like jump on a trampoline or start sprinting or running or sneeze uncontrollably when you have allergies, it can cause excessive intra-abdominal pressure. And there's only a couple ways that that intra-abdominal pressure can come out. Because if we look at our core from the side, we have the multifidus muscles here in the back, the diaphragm up at the top, rectus abdominis go along the front, and then the pelvic floor muscles that go all the way back to the sacrum back here, sort of like a long oval, right? But the pressure can only come out 2 ways. It can either go out our rectus abdominis and show up in the form of coning or bread loafing. It's going to be bread loafing and look more like this if we have a 4 to 5 finger width gap going on, because you'll cone out at the sides and then there'll be a roof to it. And then it can also come out down at your pelvic floor. And this will show up in the form of incontinence, peeing your pants, having leaks, nothing to be ashamed about, and I wish more women talked about it, but it is showing us that functionally we're having an issue. Now this doesn't necessarily mean your pelvic floor is weak. It could just mean that it's not functioning properly, and sometimes incontinence can be a form of your pelvic floor being overly tight, which is a hypertonic pelvic floor, and not knowing when to relax. So don't necessarily think that just because you're having leaks, it is because of your diastasis recti. but there's a strong link between the function of your pelvic floor muscles and your abdominal muscles, that they need to work synergistically in order to successfully control excessive intra-abdominal pressure, in order so that you have a functioning core, which was the third thing we're looking at. We're looking at the width, we're looking at tension, and we're looking at function. In a practical way, when I am watching a woman do a front plank, I want to see that she can functionally pull in her core. Like if coning appears and I visually see it, can she pull it back in? Then we're golden. We're good. If not, then hey, we need to regress a little bit and go back to Diastasis Recti, strictly training Diastasis Recti safe moves with a full body approach, going back to 12-week post-pregnancy plan style. Very last thing, I think people can get too stuck up on a number as far as your width. Trying to go for a 0 is just not realistic, okay? The literature has shown us that men and women who have never grown and birthed a baby, let alone 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 babies, they can still have a 1 finger width gap just naturally, just genetically. And when you look at someone who has a six-pack, you're going to see abs on either side because they are 2 long sheaths of muscle separated by the sensitive linea alba connective tissue. So there will always be a little bit of gap there because it's not 1 muscle, right? There's going to be 2. So if we can get you down to a 1 or a 1.5, girl, we are winning. Your Diastasis Recti is doing wonderfully clinically. You no longer have it, but I do care about you that much that I want you to think about your width, your tension, and then your function. I hope this helped answer your questions. If you are still having questions, let me know in the comments below. I answer as many as possible because I really want to see you be successful, and that means doing whatever you want as a mom with your fitness and just feeling confident about yourself overall.